Big news. Your soulmate is crying with happiness right now. Because you finally did this. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting. Your soulmate is crying with happiness right now, and the reason is far more powerful than you realize. Something shifted the moment you made one quiet decision within yourself, a decision you may have thought nobody noticed. But somehow, the person deeply connected to your heart felt it. Don't skip, because what happened next changes the meaning of everything you have been experiencing lately. Those strange moments when someone suddenly crossed your mind, that unexplained feeling that something was getting closer, that quiet certainty that your story was not finished, none of it feels random anymore. Your soulmate has been carrying emotions they could barely explain, waiting for one sign that the distance between your hearts was finally beginning to disappear. And now that sign has appeared. Something huge is waiting for you, because the thing that brought tears of happiness to their eyes was not something you said aloud. It was something you finally stopped doing. Here is where everything turns. You finally stopped allowing the past to control what your heart believes it deserves. Maybe nobody around you saw that change. There was no announcement, no dramatic moment, no visible celebration. It happened quietly when some part of you decided, I cannot keep living emotionally inside what has already happened. And that inner shift changed the energy of your entire story. Stay till the end, because there is another revelation hidden behind this, and it is the one your soulmate has been waiting for. They did not need you to become perfect. They did not need you to chase them or prove yourself. What their heart was waiting for was the moment you became ready to receive something real without comparing it to yesterday. That is why the happiness feels overwhelming now. Somewhere deep inside, they can sense that the door they thought might remain closed forever has finally begun to open. Don't skip. The most surprising part is still coming, because your soulmate's happiness is connected to something you recently changed without even realizing how important it was. And this is the secret almost nobody would expect: you started choosing yourself differently. You became a little less willing to beg for attention, a little less willing to question your worth, and a little more willing to believe that genuine love should meet you halfway. That change may look small from the outside, but emotionally, it is enormous. Your soulmate's tears of happiness represent relief. The feeling that the person they have been hoping to meet is finally becoming ready for the kind of connection that does not require pretending, chasing, or constantly wondering where they stand. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and this is only the first layer. There is still one detail you have not seen yet, one detail that explains why this shift is happening now instead of months ago. And when you hear it, you may finally understand why certain doors had to remain closed, why certain moments felt delayed, and why your heart kept telling you not to give up on what you could not yet see. Your soulmate is not crying because the story is ending. They are crying because, in a way neither of you expected, it may finally be beginning. But something even more extraordinary has begun to happen beneath the surface, and your soulmate can feel it before either of you can fully explain it. Don't skip, because this is where the story takes a turn you were never expecting. The happiness they feel is not simply about love getting closer, it is about realizing that something inside you has finally changed. For a long time, your heart may have wanted something beautiful while another part of you quietly kept the door half closed. You hoped, but you questioned. You believed, but then remembered everything that had disappointed you before. Now that pattern is beginning to break. You are no longer looking at your future through the eyes of your past, and that is the shift your soulmate has been waiting for. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is one specific realization coming next that could explain why you have recently felt as though something important is approaching, even when nothing around you seems different yet. What makes this so powerful is that your soulmate may be going through their own emotional transformation at the same time. Imagine two separate paths slowly turning toward the same destination without either person seeing the entire road. That is why certain emotions can suddenly feel stronger. That is why thoughts about love, connection, timing, and the future may arrive when you least expect them. Don't skip, because the biggest surprise is not that your soulmate is happy. It is why their happiness became so intense right now. They are beginning to feel hope where uncertainty once lived. Something in their heart is telling them that the person meant to understand them deeply is becoming emotionally ready to recognize something genuine when it arrives. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime revelation. Sometimes the biggest turning point does not begin when two people finally meet or reconnect. It begins earlier, when both hearts separately become ready for the same kind of love. Something huge is waiting for you, because that readiness may be exactly what is unfolding now. And now comes the detail that changes the entire meaning of the title. Your soulmate is crying with happiness because the version of you that kept settling for less is slowly disappearing. The version that questioned whether genuine love could find you is losing its grip. In its place is someone beginning to understand that the right connection should bring clarity, mutual effort, peace, and the feeling of finally being seen. Stay till the end, because the next part reveals what may happen when this internal change begins showing up in your outer world. There could be a moment so ordinary that you almost overlook it, a conversation, an unexpected realization, a sudden change in direction, and yet afterward, everything may feel different. Don't skip when that moment arrives in this story, because the smallest detail could carry the biggest meaning. You have already done the difficult part, you changed what you are willing to accept. Now the question is no longer whether your heart can leave the old chapter behind. The question is what becomes possible when the new chapter finally recognizes that you are ready for it. Now listen closely, because the next revelation is the one that changes the entire story. Don't skip. Your soulmate's happiness is connected to something much deeper than simply finding love. They are feeling the possibility of finally being understood without having to become someone else first. And strangely, you have been preparing for that exact connection without realizing it. Every time you chose peace instead of chasing confusion, every time you stopped forcing something that did not feel mutual, and every time you reminded yourself that real connection should never require you to lose yourself, you were becoming ready for something completely different. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The surprising part is that the change may already be closer to your everyday life than you think. It may not arrive with a dramatic announcement. It could begin through one unexpected conversation, one strangely timed encounter, or one ordinary moment that suddenly feels impossible to forget. And when it happens, you may look back at this exact chapter and realize why so many things had to change inside you first. But there is another layer, and this is where everything becomes intensely emotional. Your soulmate may have spent a long time wondering whether someone would ever understand the parts of them they rarely show. Behind their strength could be a heart waiting for one connection where they do not have to perform, impress, or constantly explain themselves. Don't skip, because this is exactly where your transformation connects with theirs. You stopped searching for something that merely looks beautiful from the outside, and you started becoming ready for something that feels genuine on the inside. That difference is enormous. Your soulmate is not overwhelmed with happiness because you became flawless. They are overwhelmed because you became more authentic. You began understanding what matters to you, what you will no longer settle for, and what kind of connection deserves access to your heart. Something huge is waiting for you, because two people becoming emotionally ready at the same time can change everything about what happens when their paths finally cross. And here comes the part you were waiting for. The first sign may be surprisingly subtle. Stay till the end, because the biggest revelation is still ahead. You may notice that certain situations no longer affect you the way they once did. Things you used to chase may suddenly feel unimportant. People who once confused you may no longer have the same emotional pull. And instead of feeling empty, you may feel strangely calm, as though your heart knows it is making room for something better. Don't skip, because that calmness could become the doorway to the next chapter. The real shift was never about convincing someone to choose you. It was about becoming unwilling to abandon yourself just to keep someone else. And once that changes, your entire relationship with love changes too. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next revelation is about the moment your soulmate realizes that the person they have been hoping for is no longer emotionally trapped in yesterday. And that realization could be the reason everything begins moving faster than either of you expected. And suddenly, the missing piece begins to make sense. Don't skip, because what comes next is the emotional turning point your soulmate could never force, rush, or predict. The reason their happiness feels so powerful is that you finally did something no one else could do for you. You stopped measuring your future by what happened in your past. You stopped believing that one disappointment could define every connection waiting ahead. And without making a grand announcement, your heart quietly created space for something new. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate does not need an older version of you who keeps questioning every beautiful moment. They need the version emerging now. The one who can recognize consistency, appreciate genuine effort, and receive affection without immediately expecting it to disappear. That is the shift behind those tears of happiness. What looked like a small internal decision may actually become the beginning of an entirely different chapter, and the next revelation explains why the timing matters so much. Here is what almost nobody expects: sometimes the greatest sign of change is not excitement, it is peace. Don't skip. When you stop needing constant reassurance, when silence no longer makes you question your worth, and when you can walk away from what repeatedly leaves you uncertain, something powerful happens. You become available for a connection that does not survive on confusion. And your soulmate, wherever their path currently is, represents the possibility of meeting someone from that healthier place. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and it may arrive differently from everything you imagined. It might begin quietly. One conversation may feel unusually natural. One person may make you realize how exhausting uncertainty used to be. One simple moment may carry a strange sense of familiarity, not because destiny guarantees anything, but because genuine compatibility can feel remarkably different after you have learned what you truly need. And when that difference becomes clear, you may understand why the wrong doors never needed to become permanent ones. Now remember this final detail before the next revelation opens. Don't skip, because this is where the title becomes completely clear. Your soulmate is crying with happiness because the greatest thing you finally did was become ready to choose a love that also chooses you. Not halfway. Not only when convenient. Not through endless uncertainty. You became ready for mutual presence, honest connection, and the kind of relationship where both people can grow without losing themselves. Something huge is waiting for you, because once your standards change, what captures your heart can change too. Stay till the end. The next part goes deeper into the one moment that could make you realize this transformation was never about waiting helplessly for someone to appear. It was about becoming the person who can recognize something meaningful when it finally stands in front of you. And when that moment comes, you may discover that the tears, the delays, the lessons, and the quiet changes were leading toward one realization: you were never preparing to repeat your old story. You were preparing to write a completely different one. But now, something is about to become impossible to ignore. Don't skip, because this is where everything you have heard begins connecting to one powerful truth. Your soulmate's happiness is not only about who you are becoming, it is about what you are finally ready to recognize. For so long, you may have believed that the biggest love story would arrive with overwhelming signs, dramatic moments, and instant certainty. But what if the connection that changes everything feels different? What if it arrives with calm instead of confusion, consistency instead of guessing, and a strange feeling that you no longer need to prove yourself? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The moment you understand this difference, you stop being impressed by temporary attention and start noticing genuine intention. And that may be exactly why your soulmate's heart feels so full right now. The old version of you might have overlooked something steady while chasing something intense. But the person you are becoming will notice the difference immediately. That realization alone can change the direction of your entire story. Then comes the moment nobody expects, the moment when your past suddenly loses its power. Don't skip. One day, something that once would have pulled you backward may appear again, an old memory, an old pattern, or a familiar feeling. But instead of becoming emotionally trapped inside it, you may simply recognize it and continue moving forward. That quiet reaction will tell you something enormous: you have changed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you after that realization. Your soulmate represents a connection that does not require you to reopen every old wound just to feel something familiar. The right person will not need you to shrink your expectations so they can remain comfortable. And when you finally experience mutual effort, you may wonder why you ever believed uncertainty was supposed to be romantic. This is the shocking shift. Sometimes you do not realize how much you have grown until something from your old life returns and discovers that it no longer has the same hold over you. That is when the new chapter becomes real. And there is still one revelation left that could completely change how you see what happens next. Don't skip, because your soulmate's tears of happiness are not the finish line, they symbolize the beginning of recognition. You finally did the one thing that prepares your heart for something meaningful. You stopped asking the wrong situations to become the right ones. You stop trying to turn inconsistency into commitment and confusion into certainty. Something huge is waiting for you, because now your attention can move toward what actually deserves it. Stay till the end. The next shift may begin so quietly that everyone else misses it, but you will feel the difference. There may come a moment when someone's presence feels easier than everything you previously had to force, and your first instinct might be to wonder why it feels so simple. Remember this: when that happens, genuine connection does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes the biggest chapter of your life begins with one small moment that feels peaceful. And only later do you realize that was the moment everything started changing. Something has changed now, and once you recognize it, you may never look at love the same way again. Don't skip, because this is where the hidden meaning behind your soulmate's happiness becomes even clearer. You finally stopped believing that love has to feel difficult before it can feel real. You are beginning to understand that the strongest connection may not be the one that keeps you constantly wondering what happens next. It may be the one that makes you feel safe enough to simply be yourself. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Imagine meeting someone and realizing you do not have to calculate every word, hide your emotions, or wonder whether showing your genuine personality will push them away. Imagine discovering that the person standing before you actually appreciates the qualities others failed to understand. That is the kind of realization that can bring tears of happiness, because suddenly all those moments of waiting begin to look different. They were not teaching you to accept less. They were teaching you to recognize the difference when something better finally appears. Then comes a moment so simple that you could almost miss how important it is. Don't skip. There may be a conversation where you notice that you feel heard instead of merely answered. There may be a moment when someone remembers a tiny detail you mentioned and you realize they were genuinely listening. Or perhaps you will simply notice that you are no longer trying to earn someone's attention. It is already being given freely. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you after that realization. This is where the old pattern begins losing its final grip. You understand that mutual connection does not require endless decoding. It grows through presence, consistency, curiosity, and two people choosing to understand each other. And that is why your soulmate's happiness matters so much in this story. The thing you finally did was not chase harder. You became ready to stop chasing what repeatedly made you question yourself. That decision created room for something completely different, and what enters that space may surprise you more than anything you left behind. But there is one final layer you still have not seen. Don't skip, because the next revelation could be the biggest one yet. Something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with a question. What if the greatest evidence that you are ready for your soulmate is not that you desperately want love anymore, but that you know you will be okay until the right connection arrives? That changes everything. Suddenly, love is no longer something you need to complete your life. It becomes something meaningful that can add to a life you are already learning to value. And when two people meet from that place, they can choose each other because they genuinely want to. Not because either person needs the other to fill an emptiness. Stay till the end, because the next chapter reveals what happens when this new version of you finally faces the kind of connection you once thought existed only in your imagination. And when that moment arrives, there will be one unmistakable difference: you will not feel like you are running after your future anymore. For the first time, it may feel like your future is finally walking toward you.